Greetings to our friends with Sounds Profitable. Welcome to the Sounds Profitable podcast, which is being simulcasted, simul-recorded with the Media Roundtable podcast. I'm Dan Granger, CEO and founder of Oxford Road. And slow news week, there was one headline that caught my eye. Oxford Road and Veritone One combined to create world's largest podcast agency and market leader in creator-based video advertising. Another headline says, podcast ad giant forms with Veritone One and Oxford Road merger. So we're excited to announce this week that both Oxford Road and Veritone One have been purchased by Insignia Capital Group. And we are business as usual right now, but in the road ahead, we will be combining these two companies. I've been given the high honor of being CEO of the group. And, if you listen to this podcast, maybe if you listen to Sounds Profitable, you might know some about Oxford Road and what's important to us. And what I can tell you is I've spent 21 years of my life dedicated to this industry. And I say it all the time, and I'll keep saying it. I believe that podcasting specifically is the greatest canvas in media for the free and open exchange of ideas. I really, really believe in this. And so I think this is a really exciting update for the marketplace. I think it's good for everybody around the table and through the value chain, whether you're a picks and shovels product creator or analytics company or publisher, creator, broker, whether you have a platform, if you are a brand, first and foremost, this should be good news to you. As you know, we do this podcast for the same reason we get up in the morning and come to work. We do it in service of the chief audio officer, that special person whose job it is to get value out of their investment into these channels. And so I'm really grateful that we have this opportunity. We have the good pleasure to sit down with our friend Bryan Barletta, who is about to interview Conor Doyle, now president at Veritone One, and myself, Dan Granger at Oxford Road. And we're going to talk about the thesis behind the deal and why we're really excited about it and all the benefits we believe that this is going to come to unlock for the industry and pretty much everybody around the table. So excited to get into it. Here we go. Well, welcome everybody. This is a very exciting Media Roundtable episode, but it's not the only podcast that it's going to be featured on today. I am here with Conor Doyle of Veritone One fame and Bryan Barletta of Sounds Profitable. And this is just the fact that we're even having this conversation right now is personally a dream come true. And rather than, even though this is being recorded in a Media Roundtable environment, I am sitting at the Media Roundtable as we speak. This is actually Bryan's show today, and he's going to interview us about some of the news that we released this week. So, Bryan, if you're good, I'll just turn it over to you to ask anything you want.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be able to do this. I mean, I've had a chance to work with both companies for a long time, for the entirety of working at Sounds Profitable, and since before then, when I've been working in the podcast space at different companies here. So let's get right to it. You guys are part of an acquisition, a joint acquisition. Insignia, a private equity firm, has acquired Veritone One and Oxford Road. And so that's why we're here today. The first thing I want to dig into with both of you guys is, who is Insignia? What do we need to know about them and their entrance into the podcast space?
I'll take that. So Insignia is our sponsor of the newly combined or joined company. Now that both assets, Oxford Road and Veritone One, have been purchased, they were purchased by Insignia Capital Group. Insignia Capital Group is a private equity company, which already comes with a lot of connotations, right? So before making any assumptions, here's what you need to know. Insignia Capital Group is a group of individuals that are highly values driven and committed to the audio space. So part of the thesis that led to the teaming up of these two firms was a non-negotiable focus on the fact that we believe in this industry. We believe there's a lot of good work to do to make it what it could be. even though we're excited about where audio is at today, where podcasting is today, and even where creator-based video is today, um, it's in a great place. And we know that it's going crazy with growth, but there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built. There's a lot of things that are hard about these channels for advertisers to really realize the potential.
Yeah.
And we believe that combined, we're going to be able to play a bigger part in helping realize its potential as an industry, kind of one client at a time. And Insignia is a group that believes that. Insignia is, I mentioned, a values-driven company, and I want to talk about that for a second as well, because values to me are really, they can be words on a piece of paper that really don't mean anything to anybody. They can be a bunch of corporate gobbledygook, or it can be exactly who you are and exactly what your brand is. And for us, we wanted a group that we felt shared our values, taking accountability, being transparent, putting the needs of our clients above our preferences, not being defensive is one of their values, which to me is like,
That's
I
awesome.
read that before we met, and I'm like, why isn't that a value on our business yet? Because it's so important when you're working with people, right? Just to be able to take feedback and not take it personally, and to be able to really value that as a gift. That's who Insignia is. And uh, Tony and Nick and the team at Insignia really believed in what we were trying to achieve out of our values, and through the combined capabilities of this organization and these organizations, that they said, we're going to pick up both of them. We're going to give you guys a little time, because we know that clients come first, and we're all getting ready for 2025, and we need to stay focused on doing the job at hand for everybody. And as we start to map out, we are now getting to get to the fun part, where we get to look at, okay, what are the assets on the Oxford side that Veritone One can benefit from? What are the assets on the Veritone One side that Oxford Road clients can benefit from? How do we put those together and make a super agency that is the greatest thing that this channel has ever seen? And the last thing I'll say is this: I think if we had gone the traditional route through traditional means of financing, and didn't have a partner that believes so deeply in what we're doing, like Insignia, you would see us just probably become a feature on a generalist shop that may have gotten on, that may just get under resourced. Instead, we went the total opposite way and said, how do we get to a level of scale that you've really only seen on a handful of companies globally in these channels? How do you get to that type of scale and then some, while maintaining the specialist focused and keeping your feet planted in all that we love and care about and try to protect in this industry? That's what we're trying to do here with this combination, and that's what Insignia, I think, was attracted to and believed in, and was willing to put their money where their mouth
Yeah.
is.
And Insignia, like agencies, is not a new thing for them. Like that's actually, it seems like a lot of what they invest in or they acquire, correct?
Absolutely. And I would say, they have a solid history of working with agencies in their portfolio. And one of the common themes with their agencies, I think, is a focus on outcome driven agencies. So, we could get into a long philosophical discussion about branding, but in reality, um, performance, there has to be results when you buy advertising. Their ads have a job to do, and they believe in backing companies that want to see measurable outputs as a result of their work.
It's great. It's so funny. Like I have the honor of being able to do laps around this entire industry and talk to everybody all the time. And a lot of times there's stories and stuff that is coming up, and I have a little bit of heads up on stuff. This for me kind of came out of the blue. I felt like it was great because now I'm West Coast, and so I definitely got the email at 5 a.m. when I was up early and couldn't get back to sleep, and then an email from Dan 10 minutes later, like, want to catch up soon? So like, this has been a really busy week. It's been really exciting here. But Conor, I mean, how quickly did this come together? I mean, Veritone One, it's people read the headlines, you read it. If people didn't open the article, miss that it was included Oxford, that Dan's going to be running it, and people like to jump to assumptions, right? Veritone One being sold. When was this decided that that was going to happen? How quickly did it become that this specific relationship was the right one to pick?
Yeah, I think it's been in the filings for Veritone for well over a year that Veritone was looking to divest the non-SaaS asset, which is the agency Veritone One. So, it's been well over a year. We've been talking to different folks, strategics, private equity groups, a variety of different groups, and it really wasn't until kind of recently that Insignia came along, and Dan was a big part of the driving force with that and kind of molding this together. And so, it was in pretty short order from when we started conversations with Insignia. But the agency was, Veritone and Veritone One have kind of been going in
Yeah.
different directions for a period of time that we all know. You can see the focus on recruitment and federal deals and things like that. So it's been something that we as an agency have been looking forward to, just to kind of reignite some focus. So I think it's an exciting time for the folks that work at Veritone One. They're ready for a group that is laser focused on audio and creator based media.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, Tom came over from Edison Research 2 years ago to join the team. And that was what people are like, why? You're doing so much for podcasting over there. And his big thing was that was only part of his job. He couldn't focus on, just podcasting. They had the election, they had all the other things that they did there. Veritone One being part of Veritone, there's plenty of times where I've worked with the Veritone One team and the Veritone team combined on AI stuff and all these interesting things, and they were neat. This allows you guys to double down and focus on where you guys have been excelling, work with another team that's been excelling on that. Kind of gets me into my next question that, like, both of you are incredibly skilled teams, very well respected, some of the largest spenders in podcasting. Now combined, like, absolutely the largest agency focused on podcasting and adjacent inventory. That's great. There's some unique things about each of the companies. There's some overlap, and I don't say overlap in a bad way, but like, if you guys, Conor, we'll start with you, like, talk to, like, what's the strength of Veritone's bringing to the table? Dan, what's the strength at Oxford? And then what's the things that you guys overlap on that you're going to be able to do more with, or maybe things that need to be done away with?
Yeah. If you're cool, Conor, I want to talk about Veritone because I was so excited,
yeah,
right?
I was thinking a similar thing. Yeah.
So, for me, there was a lot of confidentiality that we needed to honor in this process, dealing with a publicly traded company. But this is something that has been a personal dream of mine for a long time, because for years I've felt that there is connective tissue between the organizations. We share a lot of relationships, a lot of values, and a lot of respect. And what Conor has done, what Jess Robine has done, what the founding members of those teams who have since moved on to other things, these are fantastic people that have done amazing work. I've known Zeus Palousis for 20 years, and you can't find a more consummate professional and just a good person to be in partnership with. And so I think we always, many of us, really wanted to find more ways to team up long ago. So conversations had happened over the years. I saw an opportunity last year toward the end of the year where I thought, okay, we might be starting to get to time where this could be a real viable possibility. And then it was about finding a bridge to make it work financially, because it wasn't something we were in a position to be able to pull off. Through Insignia, we were able to do that. Now, one of the things that is so attractive, so the first things first is just aligned values and competence. I mean, this is the world leader by volume in Veritone One in this space. And so for all those reasons, I think it made sense conceptually. Then when you get into the actual, like, goodie bag of capabilities, man, the tech stack that they've been able to develop, we've been going our way, they've been going theirs, but they've put a lot more resources in, given the
Yeah.
scale of where that company was and the holding company's capabilities, right? So that's going to pull us all forward in really big ways very quickly. Additionally, just one great example is we're all trying to figure out, how do we even talk about video in this space, and, like, what is a podcast and when is this video based creator, YouTube, vlog, what do we call it, right? Video is the thing that we're all dealing with. Yeah.
We call it a podcast, and we put an ad on it. That's what we do.
Yeah. And you can't get more podcasts than, like, the three of us here, right? And
Yeah.
yet still I'm worried about a ring light and why it's so dark in my background, right? Because it's all kind of the same thing now. But what they've been able to do on the video based creator work and really scale that effectively. I'll be honest, when Oxford Road started, we thought that was going to be part and parcel with podcast. And after the MCNs kind of went a little sideways, we backed away from it. We've come back in, but not even close to what they've achieved. What Conor and the team have done in that space is unbelievable. And that's going to pull us years ahead in terms of capability. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. And then I think just, looking at the platform that Dan and the Oxford team have built with the Chief Audio Officer Summit, and as a competitor, you sit back and you're like, oh man, what's going on? What's going on there? And you kind of want to get involved, but you want to keep your distance too. And so I think Dan and I were talking about this as like through the process. We've competed and we've both been successful businesses, and that's phenomenal. But we're I don't want to say we're trading dollars in some ways, but kind of going after the same thing. When you immediately free the headspace up of, okay, we are now focused, we are working together on this, and this is the foundation. Where can we set the laser pointer? Where can we go now? How can we tackle blue chip brands, help with the challenges that still exist in measurement as a really united front? That's super exciting. I mean, Dan, there's a Chief Audio Officer Summit in New York next week. We're bringing our clients there, and it's kind of working together. So, and I think in the spirit of this arrangement, that's a lot of the conversations we've had with the media community this week has been, this is a good thing. Like this is, from the tops down, from a company like Insignia and the investment community recognizing the opportunity that's here. And you said it, Bryan, doubling down on it, to having us, execute and activate and really start meaningful leverage and knowledge-based sharing to make this industry what we want it to be, right? I mean, that's the cool thing. Dan and his team come from the same relationship-based, let's get the most out of this media for brands, but do it in a way that helps creators in the process get the most for their work, while doing right by the audiences. I mean, those are the three buckets that we've always tried to not mess with. And I mean, just it's going to be fun. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I've always been impressed by both teams, because both of you realize that the thing that we need to solve for is making it easier and better to spend in podcasting, because then more creators here that do more interesting things, that do better things for our advertisers, both branding and performance. And so what's exciting here is the combination, like you guys were both large, right? And you throw your weight around in certain ways, and we were starting to work on some things together to like, let's build standards and all these things to get out there, because when multiple companies are signing it, it makes a big deal. And we've been able to get some movement on these things. Like Dan, the Oxford clock that you guys are coming out, the perspective on those things. I love stuff like that, because there's really two outcomes. One is someone disagrees with you, you look at their data, you collaborate, and now there's a press release where a third name's added to it, or it's generally directionally valuable for everybody to buy into it, nobody disagrees with it, and we stop arguing about one thing, we move forward, we standardize something. You guys at the scale that you're at now, like, I'm excited to see holding companies in the space, but they're here bigger in name than they are in spend. I'm excited to see some of the bigger agencies that have been bigger than podcasting pay attention, but again, bigger name than spend. You guys have been two of the biggest agencies in the space, and together you push progress individually, but combining it, sometimes those things stand out. When that number gets bigger, when you combine everything together, when the size of your spend gets bigger, it makes a statement. And I think the cool part here is what I see is that there's an opportunity for small agencies to pop up, because that's the truth. You guys are going to get bigger. There's going to be some aspects of it that happens, and there's going to be a level to how low you can handle, but you'll be setting the trends for these people to follow, and you'll be making room for more buyers to enter the space, but also you'll be able to set standards. And by setting those standards and not just having them proprietary, it's kind of a call to action to everybody else. It makes it so that everybody's on the same page, that we have more efficiency in buying, less hours wasted tracking down reporting, because you can put your weight behind these things that help you, but they help your peers and they help the new brands come into the space and spend.
We could not be in closer agreement with what you just said. That is so important. And some of this is about like, look, we want to be, we want to make sure we maintain a competitive edge
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we don't also need to be collaborating to try to build the industry we all want to work in and get some of these stupid barriers out of the way. We need to get out of our own way as an industry, right?
Yep.
And so you totally nailed it. Now we're going to be able to concentrate a little bit more. It's a lot easier for Conor and I to now sit down and go, okay, it's time for us to push back on this type of thing. And I think, look, all of our partners on the publishing side are so vital, and everybody in the ecosystem. I mean, it sounds profitable is a really critical part of the ecosystem, right? But brands haven't really had a collective voice, and
Yeah.
they're the ones paying everybody's bills. They should be at the top of the food chain, and yet I feel like their collective voice has not been heard. And so this gives us a chance to platform them in a way and really be a conduit for their interests so that there's a seat at the table, because otherwise you really only get one side is platforms that are going to be deciding how this industry works. And that doesn't necessarily unlock things that they really want.
Yeah.
They're not getting that seat at the table and that perspective from the brand. So you're totally reading it. And I think that there's the obvious synergies and economies of scale and things like that. But truly, for the sake of the industry, it's so important. And as somebody that, and Conor too, like, we've devoted our careers to this. We want to see this place
Yeah.
thrive and flourish. We were doing this when before there was cereal and before anybody knew what a podcast was. And we want to see this thing go all the way while keeping the best parts about it and not becoming just a NASCAR of,
Yeah.
messages that nobody can even pay attention to.
I I resonate with that so much. I mean, I think I always say that the people that really care about the space and are working hard for it could make so much more money and work so many fewer hours in literally any other industry. Like, the people who are here actually care about it. And as we continue to grow, it's like the companies that are at the top that can like mess around in the space, disrupt it and change it. Very few. And a lot of them aren't like bigger than podcasting. Like, even Google's presence here, it's kind of dipping in, it's kind of interrupting things, but they're not
Dipping
here.
in and dipping out.
Yeah, they're not here. They're not making those changes. We're almost hitting a point where podcasting is like hard to crush completely. Our growth is small and steady, but for a lot of us that really figure that out, really cultivate it and focus on it, that's great. It's great year over year earnings. It's great opportunity to drive a medium that many of us are never going to have a chance to influence another medium like this. So I love that you guys see it as helping creators, helping brands, that connection there. Should we expect to see more consolidation? I mean, in general, or agencies, like, is this a trend that you think we'll see in greater advertising and podcasting?
I think anytime we do something that's innovative, I usually see somebody doing something similar later. And so I wouldn't be surprised, we're going to keep our heads in the game, just working on getting this integration right over time as the time is right, but we're taking our time so that we can do it properly. And so from our perspective, we're open, but we are squarely dedicated to the task at hand, and that's the convergence of these two companies over time successfully for all clients. But for the rest of the market, yeah, I'm sure there'll be some people thinking differently about their choices, and wondering how do they position around this type of force now that it exists. I would expect
And
that.
yeah, and you mentioned timeline a little bit, and that you guys are like, you have a little bit of leeway on there. What's the rough outline? Like, is it really as needed, or is there a drop dead date when it becomes one company?
We don't have a drop dead date because I think we are aligned through all stakeholders in this deal. We all bend the knee to the client, the work, the work, the work. That's number one. Now, the question is, how, how quickly can we add more value to that work before it takes away value? And distraction is our enemy right now. So we really, while it's great for me, to be here doing this, there's a lot of people that are really just doing the same thing they were doing a week ago, and they've got their head down doing the job. And so I think, given the fact of where we are in the year, we want to be extra precious about the planning process for 2025, but know that, myself, Conor, a handful of other folks are deeply already getting busy trying to figure out, okay, what do we think this looks like Q2, Q3, Q4. We're not committing to anything yet, but we're starting to map that out to figure out as soon as we can, but
Yeah,
within the confines of, the realities we're working in.
that's a great goal, and it's exciting that you're not pressured into moving faster
Oh,
than you need to.
I'm telling you, we just got a really good partnership going
Yeah.
here. And yeah.
That's, I guess the last question I want to end with. I mean, I look at this from the positive. I look at the opportunity for what you guys to do to push into bigger spaces, have bigger conversations, get the attention of bigger brands, to signal to people that more money can and should be spent in podcasting, to encourage smaller companies to pop up and realize that there's tons of opportunity, and they're going to be able to, in your wake, take on some of those smaller things, grow some of the smaller accounts, grow this industry. The area we haven't really touched on is the publishers. The biggest fear publishers have in a consolidation like this is that the combined power might be used to negotiate rates lower, or pressure like that you might evaluate that when combined you're spending too much with one company.
Sure.
You guys are very brand focused, and I've always known that, and I don't have a lot of these fears personally, but I figure we can use this as an opportunity. Like, what would you say to a publisher that might be worrying and kind of looking at worst case scenario?
I would take this the other way. I think all the conversations I've had this week are that we are an audio agency, right?
Yeah.
We don't ever say to a publisher, hey, sorry, you guys missed out on the buy for 25 because we decided to go in a different direction, in terms of digital or something like that. So we've always been lockstep with our media partners in terms of, like, we don't exist without them. And
Yeah.
that's the reality. And we've always looked at ourselves as an agency, and Oxford the same way. Is we're here, but below, and our clients are here and our media partners are here. And we do not exist without either of those relationships. And so we're joined at the hip to make this work. And if it goes too far and creators aren't monetizing, then our business starts to go away. And that was, one of the things that came out of 2023, which one of the positives was just a getting down to like brass tacks with networks again, and saying, hey, we've kind of been pushing too far down this other road. Let's take it back to what got us here, and let's be smart about how to help your media partners make money. And so I think that was one of the fun parts of 23, was kind of just like rolling the sleeves up again and ideating with our media partners. So I think our relationships are, these are friends, right? These are people that we care about, and we want to see succeed just as much as anyone. So,
And that's a law ball that I like to push for on these things, because like the people who don't get to spend time with you guys kind of miss this part, right? Like, it's not like someone stops shopping at your store and you never see them again. Like, that's what publishers and people not connected to you guys sometimes think. It is a partnership, because sometimes they're going to come to you and be like, hey, I need help. I need this show monetized. We've done right with you by everything else. I need to show that there's support for it. And sometimes when you can, you guys back it. And the same thing, you can say, hey, we're really underperforming on this campaign. We got a lot of problems. We need like a home run from somebody, and we need it to be cheap. When you can go both ways on that, when people can ask of each other as partnership, this is a very small community. I can think of maybe less than 5 people that are like on the outskirts of it. Everybody else is welcomed in. Everybody else is like, it's a very strong partnership industry. So that's really what I wanted to get you to highlight, and you nailed it. I mean, I don't see this as being a negative. I understand why people might be concerned, but now there's 2 companies you can go talk to solve that problem. Like, if you haven't yet spoken to the teams at Oxford Road and Veritone One, please reach out to them. They have time. They want to hear from more people.
and when you think about it, Brian, it's like when you take a minute, like obviously we've been running so hard, but you take a minute, it seems like a logical next step. Like when you sit back, like, okay, that makes a ton of sense, to be doing this.
Well, I mean, I think you guys really nailed the points. The relationships come first. They should still sharpen their pencils. However, look, at the end of the day, I came from the publisher side, right? I was in sales for Clear Channel when it was Clear Channel. And we should all be serving in service of the brands. We work for the advertisers. And so whether you're an intermediary or whether you're a creator or a publisher, as long as we're trying to figure out how to get get advertisers what they need and meet their objectives and help them grow their business, then, that should be the tie that binds us all. That's all I would say.
I agree. I'm excited to see what's next. I'm excited to hear more about the Chief Audio Officer Summit that's happening soon, and all of the great things going forward, especially as you guys continue to merge business, the new things that you dig into, the areas you can push us into that's bigger and better. So honestly, thank you guys. And to just echo what Dan said, the exciting part about this is the opportunity for brands to have a bigger voice, whether through this combined agency or just by you guys saying that brands should have a bigger voice as a large entity, making space for it. Because as Conor and I saw at the IAB Audio Leadership Summit last week, there were very few buyers there, and it was very hard for the buyers to get a word in. And sometimes when the buyer said, I want exactly this, sometimes the publishers said, no, you don't. And it was very uncomfortable. And so now being in a situation where we can challenge that and we can have that conversation with just the buyers like they do in some other industries that we've kind of fallen short on in our industry because it's tough. It's tough to get their attention in time. Now with the combined effort here, I'm excited to see that more front and center so that we can all react to it. We can all listen and we can all grow the space. So congratulations, guys. I'm sure this is the first of many conversations we're going to have like this over the next year or two as you guys continue to build up into the next phase of this.
Thanks, Bryan, and thanks for everything you continue to do with Tom and the team at Sounds Profitable. We're all fighting the good fight here, and so thanks for everything you bring to the table here. Thank you so much for joining Sounds Profitable and the Media Roundtable for today's podcast. This is brought to you by Oxford Road, where we want you to succeed in audio and to use your influence for good. As members of the marketing community, we have the power to advance voices that don't just entertain, but edify, to build bridges across differences and preserve fair-minded discussion around the most important topics of our age. If you're a marketer and you're looking to align your brand values with extraordinary business outcomes, reach out to our agency, Oxford Road, by going to oxfordroad.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter, The Influencer. By the way, you can still reach out to Veritone1.com, and you will be in good hands as we bring these two organizations together over time. We would love to hear from you. If you have any feedback or suggestions, don't hesitate to reach out, info@mediaroundtable.com. Listen to our sister podcast, Ad Infinitum, that is all about creative in the audio space. And a special thank you to our guests today, Bryan Barletta and the team at Sounds Profitable and all the work they do to move this industry forward. I want to say thank you to my new partner, Conor Doyle, at Veritone One, the whole team at Veritone One, the Veritone Corporate, Veritone Inc. We want to thank everybody who helped make this opportunity possible so we'd even have something to talk to you about today that's this exciting and this consequential for our industry. I also want to thank Insignia Capital Group. It is Insignia who made this truly possible, and we are grateful for the faith that they've put into both of these teams and all of these people. Haley, Bianca, Kyle, Ezra, Mary Jane, Everett, Neil, and the team at Sharp Pen Media. In addition to the team at Podcast One, we thank you as well, because it takes a village to make these things work. And as always, influence responsibly.